Domestic violence cases in Bengaluru, just 1% conviction rate. Pathetic much? Bengaluru's justice system is once again under the scanner, this time for falling victims of domestic violence. A new study by women's rights group Aveksha has found that between 2017 and 22, only 24 out of 2,202 cases under IPC section 498A, cruelty by husband or his relatives, led to convictions. That's really shocking. I mean, that's just 1%. I'm going to say it again and again. Now, this report draws from official data across agencies like NCRB, NFHS, National Commission for Women, and Bengaluru's district court records. It points to a worrying disconnect between the number of cases filed and those that see justice delivered. While nearly 4,990 civil complaints were filed under Domestic Violence Act, these did not lead to criminal convictions, highlighting another gap in the system. The study also reveals that more than 95% of those arrested were granted bail, and anticipatory bail was allowed in 72.5% of cases in Halasuru police subdivision. Most accused were men aged between 30 to 45. I know that there are lots of cases where men's groups are now saying, and it's true, a lot of cruelty perpetrated against men as well. I know that, I'm acknowledging it. Now, the report shows only 16.6% of women-related crimes were closed as false. So, where do we stand? I mean, what is the reason? Let me now go across to someone who's worked very closely on this, Brinda Adige, very well-known social activist. Hi, Brinda. Good to have you on the show. But 1%, Brinda, where do we go?
Good evening, Sudha.
Hi.
Yes, it is dismal, deplorable, despicable, and shameless. I mean, who is shameless over here? The state and the system. There are two things we need to understand. The Domestic Violence Act, protection of women against domestic violence, is a remedial act. It's not a criminal act. But the 498A, cruelty by a husband and his family, is a criminal clause. So in that, domestic violence and any form of cruelty comes into it. So it may not be only something that the husband has done, but it's also things that husband and his relatives and his friends might have done within the confines of the house. So the cruelty by husband is a very, very serious offense, because the cruelty talks about all kinds of cruelty: verbal cruelty, physical cruelty, sexual cruelty, economic cruelty, and psychological, emotional, or mental cruelty.
Right.
And for too long, we have always understood it as domestic violence. No. Domestic violence is looked at in a very, very patriarchal sense, again, with due respect to all who made the law, saying that we'll try and put the family back together. We'll do mediation, we will do counseling.
Right.
But 498A is a criminal clause.
Right. And when you say, Brinda, that the state has failed and because of this 1% conviction, can you just, kind of decode it for the viewers? Where does it all start from? Does it start from the police station? How does the police register it? Then when it goes to the court, I mean, it can languish for years after years. I know one case where she's become a grandmother, but she's still fighting the case. So, there are lots of cases like that. So, just decode it. Why do you think the state has failed its women in Karnataka because of this conviction rate being so despicable and dismal, Brinda Adige?
You're right, but we have to again place on record, this is not just Karnataka.
Yeah.
Karnataka, we have the numbers out there because there have been some reportings and there is a study. But this is the case across India. So, right now we have data in front of us, and that to disaggregate data. So it is important that we discuss. It will be the same situation across. First and foremost, when a case of domestic violence comes, it has to come to the court directly. Police has no role. So which means it goes to the family court. The family court was constituted to ensure that there is speedy, some kind of parihara kododu, something that you give immediately, because this is a family matter and you cannot be dilly-dallying with it or put it through the cumbersome, tedious process. Now, when these cases take a long time, the other things that happen inside the house is even severe. You went and made a complaint. You make a complaint to the protection officer. So now the beatings and everything else increases. Till you don't make a complaint, it's all fine, it's all okay. So one part of it is that you really reported it to somebody. Now, why do you still want to live with me? I have nowhere else to go. Where else will I live unless the court gives me interim order that I can stay in this house? And that itself takes some time. So everybody waits. So that's another process. We won't discuss it now. Now it comes to severe beatings. Everything else now gets into this whole thing like, I'm going to die. Right. Because there's no more talk about me getting killed or my children being taken away from me, or because I have given birth to 2-3 children. So then they start meeting the lawyers, and the lawyers then say, all of this is cruelty in marriage. Because somewhere in all of these things, they are also demanding, what did you bring and come? They don't say, did you give me dowry? They ask, what did you bring and come that I must look after you? What did your father and mother give that I have made a promise to look after you for the rest of your lives? All that in general parlance falls under dowry harassment also. But 498A, 98% of cases are cruelty in marriage, which the police think should not be put down there. For some reason, they have an understanding that it's a dowry harassment case. No, it's cruelty in marriage. So there is shoddy statement taking and shoddy investigation. And by the time it comes to court, probably that might be a shoddy investigation, charge sheet is not properly filed, so probably the case falls through. 2, by now there is so much that water under the bridge that I don't know what to do, where to go, because my husband has just abandoned and absconded. So if you look at the study, it will also show that a large number of husbands have gone missing or absconding. Police can't even file the summons to them, asking them to present themselves. So I think that is the state has a responsibility, and the courts have not speeded up the process. So they are also responsible.
So what a dismal, I mean, I kept quiet throughout, Brinda, because the way you decoded it and the way you started the conversation, it ties back. It's pathetic, it's dismal, it's despicable.